Can you sum up the mood of Greater Melbourne at the moment?
Well, Peter, thanks for having me. It was very flat yesterday. There is a sense of despondency, but today is another day, and Victorians keep lifting their heads and focusing on what we can do to make a difference and get ourselves open as quickly as possible.
This is number 4, Sally. How does it compare?
Well, it's really difficult, Peter, to explain how people can continue to bounce back from these lockdowns. It's more and more difficult every time. It is one of the reasons why we are calling for support from both levels of government, because in these very uncertain times, ways that we can provide certainty, particularly around wages and certainty for business owners through support, gives relief to the financial hardship, the emotional and mental anguish that happens as a result of these lockdowns.
Are you seeing any data, or have you got a percentage perhaps of the number of people who may think, well, this just keeps on happening, I'm out of here? Are you seeing many residents who may now think, well, I'm going to leave?
Well, look, that is the fear. And when we think about the casual workers in particular who are most impacted by lockdowns in terms of lack of income. They are essential workers for our hospitality sector. They are cleaners in our hospitals. They are key workers across our community, and we need to give them a sense of certainty and support during lockdown. We need them there to be able to kickstart this economy when we can open again.
Is there much or any evidence of people deciding to leave?
Well, we did see some of that data following the lockdown last year, Peter. You would have seen some of the internal migration numbers in terms of movements in states. And we have seen some people choose to move into regional Victoria. At the same time, though, cities are still incredibly appealing places for work and for lifestyle, for living. And we expect that Melbourne will remain a very attractive place. We just need that support on the way through to encourage people to stay. And I'd say the Melbourne economy has state and national significance. We have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic and through lockdowns. We need a proportionate response from both levels of government. Now is not the time for arguments or negotiations. There are people literally dealing with their livelihoods and how they can pay their rent and buy food. We need to be able to step into the breach at this time. It's the best way of giving ourselves confidence about the future.
What is a proportionate response? What sort of support, what specific support do you think you need from both state and federal governments?
Yeah, well, we've seen the extension now of the business support package from the state government. We do need to think about workers, casual workers particularly, who are essential for our economy and who will be going into a second week without pay. They do need to be able to cover their rent, buy food, and it's really, Peter, that big sense of support and certainty in a time that is unprecedented, where the unpredictability of what's happening is beyond our control as citizens. I would say Victorians are doing really everything they can. They're adhering to the restrictions, they're getting tested, they're getting vaccinated, and we want to become the most vaccinated city in Australia to give us that COVID confidence for the future. But in this time of lockdown, we really want to see all levels of government working together to provide that support and as much certainty in the face of the pandemic as possible. And that way people really can hang on and be ready to kickstart again once we open.
I'm assuming you're talking about a wage subsidy there, Sally.
Yes, well, JobKeeper was absolutely fundamental to the way Australia responded in such a positive way during the pandemic last year. It was very distinctive in terms of policies around the world for providing certainty during COVID. Whether it's called JobKeeper or it's some other program to make sure that those who need help, those who are experiencing hardship during lockdown actually have that support, seeing both levels of government working together to provide that financial certainty, a platform from which people can keep looking forward and feel confident about the future. Another thing, Peter, just to keep in mind, in talking to traders yesterday, they've really noticed a difference in this lockdown to previous lockdowns. With the absence of JobKeeper and that wage support, it means people aren't in the economy buying takeaway or ordering things online at the same levels because they just don't have that confidence about their incomes during this time of lockdown.
So you want another version of JobKeeper? Do you want it to be the same level as what it was before, and just a shorter,
Peter,
sharper version?
I think those details. Yeah, look, I think those details are certainly what our Federal Treasurer and his team are considering at the moment. It is important from our perspective that everybody that is vital to kickstarting our economy again when the restrictions ease is able to do so, that we have as full a participation as possible. And let's face it, this lockdown and the pandemic is impacting lives and livelihoods. Everything we can do to help people survive during this time is a better outcome for our economy in the long term.
Okay. Melbourne's Lord Mayor Sally Capp, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for joining us here. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Peter.